How Manchester United will line up this season. Today we're going to go through the starting 11, the formation, of course, the tactics. I'm Statman Dave. If you are new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you were to ask me at the start of the transfer window, what did Man United need to get? What did they need to recruit to solve their problems? Would have gone with a goalkeeper, midfielder and striker. Erik Ten Hag has got all three of those positions, so it pushes Manchester United far closer to Arsenal and Manchester City, for me, the two elite teams in the Premier League at the moment. Manchester United's formation might have a slight tweak. In the defensive sense, expect Manchester United to still kind of defend in a 4-2-3-1, with the two wingers dropping back depending on where the ball is. If the ball's on the right side of the pitch, Antony dropping back, Rashford staying a little bit higher, Bruno dropping in, and Hojlund kind of sitting in that tactical counter-attacking option. But with the ball, Manchester United will change. Of course, we've previously seen Manchester United operate with Christian Eriksen sort of deep in midfield as a bit of a playmaker. We'd have a bit of interchange of Luke Shaw and Eriksen moving into the inside left position. But Manchester United, with the signing of Mason Mount, are pretty much flipping the script in a sense of now they very much look like they're playing with 2-3-8s when they've got the ball. Building with a back three, let's say the ball's on the right side of the pitch, Diogo Dalot joining in the back three, Shaw moving into a midfield area, and United creating a bit of a box in midfield to overload the opponents. I think Manchester United are really starting to evolve and become an Erik Ten Hag team. I think one thing they need to build on the first sort of part of the season is getting the passes into the attackers from this back three shape. I think Manchester United long term could get another centre-back in there that's a bit better at finding those penetrative passes, but at the moment Raphael Varane will do a job. Of course, Harry Maguire is set to leave Manchester United, and United are linked with a whole host of defenders. Of course, Benjamin Pavard and Todibo from, of course, Nice. I really like how he defends the young Frenchman. He's a really good 1v1 defender. There's a good game against PSG where he had a really good battle 1v1 with Kylian Mbappe. Really read the play well with Mbappe in behind him, dealt with long balls and so forth, but also is super aggressive, squeezed Mbappe, which not many players do in European football. Of course, I think got beat on 2 occasions in that moment, but countless times either won the ball back or forced Mbappe back, forced PSG into a long clearance, and then, of course, Nice won the ball back. But could be a really good option. But let's talk about players that are in the team right now. I like this build-up, but I think the one thing, as I mentioned there, it's getting the ball into those advanced areas. What I would like to see more, instead of it being really super fluid and flexible as it is with Erik Ten Hag, when the ball's on the left, it's more Diogo Dalot that moves inside and Shaw becomes a third centre-back. I would like this to beat Manchester United's default, in a sense of every single time Diogo Dalot moves inside, joins Casemiro in central midfield. Similar to Arsenal with Zinchenko or Jurrien Timber, similar to Liverpool with Trent, of course, similar to Manchester City with John Stones, either from a right-back position or moving from a centre-back position into the midfield. What I think that will give United is a better kind of, more stationary ball-playing option. I think number one, Luke Shaw, to find those passes. We saw how well he did at centre-half last season when he had to cover for Martinez when he was injured. But also when you look in Martinez, you want a player that's super capable on the ball in that middle position, almost acting as a libero that can either carry out of defence or link with the players ahead of him. You want Martinez in this central position so he can hit Casemiro, Dalot, Bruno, Hojlund into feet, or Mason Mount. I want him in that central area. I think that also means that Raphael Varane has a bit of a better passing network as well. You're thinking Antony, Bruno and Diogo Dalot versus being in that central area and having to squeeze. Teams will press Manchester United in certain areas, but they'll allow Raphael Varane the ball next season, I believe. So that's one solution, of course, Diogo Dalot playing inside a lot. Again, the 2-3-8s, Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes ahead. The other solution, of course, is going into the market, which I think Manchester United will do, and bringing in someone like Amrabat, starting him in defensive midfield, and Manchester United playing a little bit more like Erik Ten Hag's Ajax team when they went with Lasse Schöne and Frankie de Jong, where they'd have two defensive midfielders that were very much involved in the build-up. The fullbacks were a little bit more attacking, a little bit more in those advanced areas, and one of the central midfielders, usually Frankie de Jong, would drop in beside or in between the two centre-backs. And this, again, would give Manchester United that option, that it's forcing Raphael Varane into this right side, options for his passing, as we spoke before, but it also gives you a player of great quality in Amrabat to be in that kind of central libero position. Now, Amrabat is very good with his short passing, with his passes in line, but one of his biggest strengths, top 1% of players in Europe for long passes. This will really improve Manchester United, and that transfer needs to be done. But without that, as we previously spoke about, you're thinking more of a Mason Mount midfield, high up the pitch, building with a back three, with Diogo Dalot inside. That's what I kind of hope. What we'll probably see is it can be this interchangeable sense when the ball's on the left, Diogo Dalot inside, when the ball's on the right, of course, Luke Shaw operating in that inside area. Manchester United have improved, all over the pitch. You're looking at, the defensive side of things has got a lot better. We spoke about kind of the build-up and so forth. But also Manchester United have got a proper goalkeeper now, someone that can play the passes into midfield. You're looking at the passes, progressive passes per 90 for Andre Onana last season. It'd rank him second in the Premier League for goalkeepers. This guy gives United so much more from the base. Man United could arguably build with the three of them being Andre Onana, Martinez, Rafael Varane in that kind of back three. Midfield three of Shaw, Dalot. That is the quality of this guy on the ball. Not only is his kind of medium range kicking, his short range kicking good, but his long kicking is going to be a weapon, especially to Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side. Also, the ball is kind of in his hands as well. Expect the long throw out, the Peter Schmeichel throw, should we say. But I think having a proper goalkeeper as well in this back three is going to give United so much from a possession sense, and it will just improve United. But that's the big thing as well. Andre Onana is not just a possession player. He was fantastic in the Champions League last season in terms of expected goals prevented. 7.4 in the Champions League last season. Made the most saves in the Champions League. Got Inter Milan to the final with some of the big saves that he made, especially against AC Milan in that semi. A brilliant goalkeeper, but will improve Man United so much in the ball-playing environment, but also in terms of leadership, in terms of command when the ball's wide, claiming crosses that come into the box. Andre Onana is basically got double the rate of David De Gea of last season. David De Gea around 3.1%, Onana 6.2% in terms of stopping crosses. Big upgrade there in between the sticks. Mason Mount, of course, joining from Chelsea, as last season under Thomas Tuchel was first for Chelsea for final third touches, shots taken, chances created, passes into the penalty area, shot creating actions, and total goal involvements with 21 goal involvements. It's going to be a big thing for Manchester United, getting him into the attacking side of United's game. I think he needs to be a little bit more open to receiving. I think he needs to move a little bit more. I also would like to see him more right-sided than left-sided. If we look at the average positions for Manchester United with Mason Mount in the team, you can see Mason Mount as more the left-sided central midfielder. Again, it is fluid. You can see how close they are, meaning that they are doing actions on the other side of the pitch. But I'd rather see Mason Mount on the left-hand side of the pitch versus that right-hand side of the pitch. I just think it's much better use of his skills. I think he's far more comfortable in that area. The underlaps that he performs on that side for Chelsea were absolutely outstanding, and it really opens teams up. United are going to have a lot of teams that sort of try and slow United's sort of pace down in terms of rotating the ball. So they're going to have to be able to build against these packed defences. Mount in this inside right channel will really, really open that up with the movement. I think for United so far, I think we've seen a little bit of slowness in the kind of defensive midfield areas. But as soon as United get a moment, we saw Casemiro play a few really good long passes, which basically allowed United to kind of counter-attack and break in behind the opposition. That's what United are building towards. It's kind of like this 4-3-3 model, more away from kind of the 4-2-3 model that we've seen in previous seasons, which I really like. And I think Mason Mount gives United structure, also gives goals and creativity. On top of that, I think Bruno Fernandes will have a target in Hojlund and Rashford. And Anthony, I expect Anthony to be, a new player. I think one of the things I want to see more from Anthony is when he's receiving, to go more direct, to look for that ball in behind the defence in the mid part of the pitch or in the final third. One of the things that's a bit weird about him is Ajax, he was a little bit more direct in a sense. He'd look for the passes, look for the through balls. He'd also look for the cross opportunities, cutting and cross. I think having someone like Hojlund in the side will allow him to have a target in the penalty area, and consequently, we'll see him get more goals and assists. I think it's going to be a big season for Anthony. His work rate off the ball is absolutely sensational. It's really, really good. He holds the width really, really well. And on top of that, United have got the ability to play Hojlund in that position, but also they can go with Marcus Rashford and have Garnacho on the other flank. And we've seen Rashford operate as that number 9 to really good effect. What I think he's really improved this season is that ability to receive to feet, play off. We look at his statistics in the game against Lyon, a team that finished second in Ligue 1 last season, a top side. His pass completion was 90% That's what I want to see. I want to see him getting even more involved in the play. You know, one big chance created, 3 shots, a goal and assist, 2 out of dribbles completed. Like Rashford as a 9 really, really works. And I do think that kind of level and ability to play that position, as you can see, I love that heat map. He's involved in the final third in the perfect area as a 9. You know, we look from a tactical perspective about that. You know, we're talking about these types of areas. You know, receiving into feet and going. This is United. This should be United's central sort of build-up structure in a sense, with these 3 number 10s in those areas. 2 wide players. You know, the fullbacks either inside or kind of providing width on the outside. That's what we want to see. And Rashford looked really good. And of course, you know, when Rashford is not playing in that central 9 position, of course, Hojlund comes in, and Hojlund is ranked in the top 1% of players for progressive passes received. And I'm talking progressive in terms of pass, let's say from Varane into his feet, or Martinez into his feet, or maybe, you know, someone like Casemiro's broken the lines. Brilliant at receiving there. And if United can start to build that, little layoffs and then working the wide players in. We saw how dangerous Garnacho has been for Manchester United already. The impact on the off the bench, you know, no player was directly involved in more goals off the bench last season than Garnacho, but I expect to see him a lot from the start, which will be really nice to see his development with Hojlund's injury. And I think United will grow, they'll develop, they'll build. Looking forward to seeing Ahmad back as well. I thought he was brilliant at Sunderland last season. Really bad that he's out injured. Same with Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo in pre-season looked absolutely fantastic. A player that's come of age, you know, in a real short space of time, commanding on the ball, distributing and so forth. But I think those 2 players we'll see sort of at the second half of the season a little bit more. I think it will be an Anthony in there. You know, not only that, we've also got Jadon Sancho, who's basically getting converted into be a false 9. I think Jadon Sancho's best, you know, areas where I think he's most dangerous, I think is centrally. I think it's the combination play. I think it's the 1-2s, it's the creative passing, it's the dribbling in these central areas to beat a man and then slide someone in and look for that classic like Jadon Sancho 1-2. We've seen it, you know, a few times for Manchester United, you know, kind of like either with Bruno operating, receiving, and then giving the ball and then receiving it back in the penalty area, or Jadon Sancho playing the, you know, the provider with, let's say, Bruno Fernandes. I'm really excited to see how he develops in this false 9 position, because United do need bodies at 9. You know, you consider that Rashford, Sancho and Hojlund are the 3 number 9s. I would have preferred to get Harry Kane as well, but we can't be all greedy in this world. But I do think he'll have a really good role in this Manchester United team. You know, especially we've got a lot of games next season, so having someone like Jadon Sancho that can play as the 9, as one of these, you know, 3 number 10s in this central area, absolutely love that. I don't think that's a problem at all. Manchester United have evolved. You know, Rashford as well. You know, best ever season in terms of goal scoring, over 30 goals in all competitions. It's only going to get better. And I expect with a Mason Mount in there, looking for those through balls in behind the defence, for Marcus Rashford, he'll only score more goals. United have done well. They are much closer to Manchester City, much closer to Arsenal this season. And I'm very, very excited for the season. Guys, get into the comments below. How do you expect United to set up this season? And do you want to see the likes of Amrabat brought in from Fiorentina? Do you want to see the likes of Todibo brought in from Nice to provide that quality and that depth for Manchester United in defence? Or is it Benjamin Ford? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you later.